Hey there, YouTube. What's up? Let me talk to you. Thunderhead here. Me, I like to do things, and I know you like to do things, but one of the things that I do that you don't is read. Well, at least you don't read enough. So, starting today, I'm going to do a new little series. I'll do it chapter by chapter, but it's going to be kind of like a glorified book on tape, you follow? And we're going to read the first part of Douglas Adams' The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. We're going to start here with the first book. I know all this is probably unreadable, but it's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So I'm going to skip the introduction. Just know that it's moderately funny, but we're going to get right to the chapter. Well, actually no, the intro's needed. I'll just do the intro for right now. Then we'll do chapter 1. It's its own chapter 0. What bullshit is that? But let's get started. Far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded yellow sun. Orbiting this at a distance of roughly 98 million miles is an utterly insignificant little blue-green planet whose ape-descended life forms are so amazingly primitive that they still think digital watches are a pretty neat idea. This planet has, or rather had, a problem, which was this. Most people living on it were unhappy for pretty much of the time. Many solutions were suggested for this problem, but most of these were largely concerned with the movements of small green pieces of paper, which is really odd because on the whole it wasn't the small green pieces of paper that were really unhappy. And so the problem remained. You know, lots of people were mean and most of them were miserable, even the ones with digital watches. And many were increasingly of the opinion that they'd all made a big mistake coming down from the trees in the first place, and some even said that the trees were a bad move, and that no one should have even left the oceans. And then, one Thursday, nearly 2,000 years after one man had been nailed to a tree for saying how great it would be if everyone was nice to each other for a change, a girl sitting in her own small cafe in Ricksmanworth suddenly realized what it was that had been going wrong all this time. And she finally knew how the world could come to be a good and happy place. This time it was right. It would work, and no one would have to get nailed to anything. Sadly, however, before she could get to a phone to tell anyone about it, a terrible, stupid catastrophe occurred, and the idea was lost forever. This is not her story. But this is the story of that terrible, stupid catastrophe and some of its consequences. But it also is the story of a book. A book called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Not an Earth book. See, no, it was never published on Earth, and until the terrible catastrophe occurred, never seen or even been heard by any Earthman. Nevertheless, it was a wholly remarkable book. In fact, it was probably the most remarkable book ever to come out of the great publishing companies of Ursa Minor, of which no Earthman had ever heard of. Not only is it a wholly remarkable book, but it is a highly successful one. More popular than Celestial Home Care Omnibus, better selling than 53 More Things to Do in Zero Gravity, and more controversial than Ulan Kofalid's trilogy of philosophical blockbusters, Where God Went Wrong, some more of God's Greatest Mistakes, and Who is this God person anyway? In many of the more relaxed civilizations on the outer eastern rim of the galaxy, the Hitchhiker's Guide has already supplemented the great Encyclopedia Galactica as the standard repository of all knowledge and wisdom. For though it has many omissions and contains much that is apocryphal or at least wildly inaccurate, it scores over the older, more pedestrian work in two important respects. First, it is cheaper, and second, it has the words, "Don't Panic," inscribed in large, friendly letters on the cover. But the story of this terrible, stupid Thursday, and the story of this extraordinary consequences of it, and the story of how these consequences are inextricably intertwined with the remarkable book, begins very simply. It begins with a house. We'll continue with chapter 1 pretty soon. Hope you guys enjoyed it.